Exposed, 3 sinister true hidden camera horrors that will haunt you forever. Sarah's heart raced as she stared into the glowing screen of her phone. The notification from the security camera hummed with tension, pulling her deep into its grip. What was lurking in the shadows tonight? The pulse in her throat quickened, and sweat trickled down her spine. She had taken precautions to protect her children, yet now, she felt utterly exposed. The last year had been brutal. Losing her job shook her world. Working nights at the local convenience store just to keep her little family afloat felt like a never-ending nightmare. Each evening as the sun dipped, she ventured into the darkness, trusting that her 7-year-old son Ethan and 5-year-old daughter Lily would be safe within their home. But safety felt like an illusory dream in Maplewood, a suburb turned sinister under the cloak of night. In the beginning, the hidden camera seemed like a guardian. Sarah felt relieved watching her kids nestled on the couch, lost in colorful cartoons, their faces illuminated by the flickering screen. But soon, something shifted. She noticed a creeping figure lurking outside their window, always there, shrouded in darkness but very much alive. Every time she replayed the footage, her stomach dropped lower. Who was he? Why was he watching? Days turned into nights full of dread. The figure moved closer with every viewing, a shadowy silhouette quietly observing as her children made memories within the safety of their living room. Her neighbors waved and smiled, but they felt more like strangers now. Sarah's instincts screamed at her, she needed to dig deeper. That evening, she searched for answers, fumbling through local forums where whispers of oddities caught her attention: missing pets, strange noises, unexplainable happenings. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue as she delved deeper into the dark web of Maplewood, her fears amplified. Was there something sinister lurking behind the friendly facade of the neighborhood? Each rumor chipped away at any semblance of security, and every creak in the floorboards made her jump. Tonight, every sound seemed amplified in the stillness. A scratch at the door jolted her awake, adrenaline flooding her senses. She crept to the window, her heart pounding deafeningly. The figure was there, inches from her, a dark silhouette, face hidden by the shadows. Panic surged. Grabbing her phone, she began recording, trembling as she confronted him. "What do you want?" she croaked, voice cracking. As he opened his mouth, revealing a connection to someone she thought was a friend, the power cut out, plunging her into inky darkness. Phantoms danced around her, and then footsteps came closer. A chill crept up her spine as whispers filled the room, someone or something coiled in the dark, waiting to strike. The sense of betrayal cut deeper than the fear. In a place where trust crumbled, survival seemed more like a mirage than hope. Who could she trust now? The darkness wrapped around Sarah like a suffocating blanket. Her breaths quickened, each inhale a desperate push against the panic swelling inside her chest. The shadows felt alive, swirling, gnashing at her senses. What had she seen that strange figure do? What did he want? Heart racing, she clutched the phone tighter, its glow dimmed but still a beacon in the encroaching dark. Barely able to hear herself think, she listened intently. The footsteps grew louder, more deliberate, echoing through the desolate silence of the house. Were they coming from outside? Or were they inside, stalking her from the shadows? "Ethan, Lily," she whispered, panic lacing her tone. Where were her children? Panic surged like an electric current. She couldn't even hear their soft breaths or the shuffling of their toys. Had she really been so focused on the dark figure to neglect the safety of her own kids? A door creaked open in the distance. It wasn't the front door, it came from down the hallway. Sarah's heart felt like it was pounding in her throat, choking her on fear. She stepped away from the window, inching towards the sound, straining to catch a glimpse of anything alive in the heavy silence. Creeping down the hallway felt like walking through a graveyard, each step deliberate and measured. Shadows flickered ominously as her phone illuminated the path, casting eerie shapes on the walls. She paused at the children's bedroom door. The hinges groaned in protest as she pushed it open, breath caught in her throat. Empty. No, 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 she whispered desperately. They couldn't be gone. She frantically began searching, the ferocity of her fear driving her hands to the mess of toys on the floor, the covers tossed off the bed. Nothing. The echo of those ominous footsteps returned, resonating from somewhere deeper in the house. Sarah felt frozen in place, every fiber of her being screaming to flee. But where could she run? If the danger was inside, it would find her, no matter where she hid. Suddenly, her phone vibrated in her grasp, sending a violent jolt up her arm. It was a notification and alert from the hidden camera. Trembling, she hesitated before opening the app. The live feed flickered to life with a hollow crackle. Her heart sank. The figure was inside her house no more than a room away. He stood stoically at the back door, clad in a dark coat, shadows clinging to him like a second skin. The camera caught his reflection in the glass's face, pale and distorted, staring directly into the lens like he was staring right at her soul. "Get out!" She screamed, barely able to recognize her own voice. But he didn't move. Instead, a smirk crawled across his face, twisted and malicious, as if the very act of her fright fed him. The door creaked slowly open, the hinges protesting against the weight of the night, and he stepped into the faint light. "Sarah," his voice coiled through the air, eerily soothing, "I'm here for you." Her heart raced, blood pounding in her ears. She spun, desperate to find her children. What was happening? Where were they? Then, a soft giggle floated through the air, light and innocent. It echoed hauntingly in the corridor, the sound laced with a darkness that settled deep into her bones. Lily? Ethan? But as she moved toward the sound, the shadows thickened and swallowed her. The figure stepped further into the light, his eyes glinting with a hunger that made the air freeze around her. "What have you done?" The door slammed shut behind her, reverberating through the silence like a death sentence. "Your children," he whispered, a sickening flourish in his tone. She felt the world tilt as chaos erupted around her. Was it too late? In that moment of despair, a final flicker of resolve surged through her veins. But what she didn't know was the true horror lurking right behind her. The darkness flickered momentarily, caught in the tension of Sarah's quickened breath and the oppressive silence that followed the figure's voice. She could feel its weight pressing down on her skin, a tangible force as formidable as any predator stalking its prey. The cold sweat pooled in her palms, and she thought she could almost hear her own heartbeat echoing off the walls, blending with the sinister whispers of the night. "Your children." The figure drew closer, his voice like a serpent, curling and constricting around each word. A sly smile danced on his lips, revealing teeth too white against the pallor of his face. Sarah's fingers trembled as she reached instinctively behind her, searching for an escape. The door, heavy and unyielding, felt like a dark omen sealing her fate. Desperation clawed at her insides. She had to think. She had to get out. "What do you want?" She managed to croak, defiance flickering briefly before the rising dread. "Oh, it's simple," he purred, stepping forward, swallowing the light surrounding him. "I want to play." A chill ran down her spine. Panic surged again. All she could think about were Ethan and Lily. Were they safe? Were they hiding? "Where are they?" she shouted, biting back tears. He only laughed, a horrible, sharp sound that echoed off the walls like a bell tolling finality. "Don't worry, they're safe for now." She whirled around, disoriented, searching for any sign of her children. The giggle floated through the air again, closer this time, right behind the doorframe at the end of the hallway. "Mommy." It was innocent but distorted, morphing into a sound that sent tooth-chattering fear coursing through her veins. "No. Come back." Sarah lunged, every cell in her body screaming for her to run toward that sound. But the figure stepped directly into her path, blocking her like a wall. He leaned in close, his breath chilling against her cheek. "I would advise against it. Wouldn't want you to spoil the fun." She could feel his sinister presence wrapping around her, clawing at her resolve. With a heavy exhale, she pushed past him, adrenaline pounding. She could beat him. The children needed her. She dashed toward the giggle, a faint flicker of hope lighting up her heart. But just as she rounded the corner, she stopped dead in her tracks. In the living room, the shadows were alive, a chaotic swirl of dark figures dancing and swirling like phantoms, and in their midst, two small forms stood unnaturally still. Ethan and Lily, their expressions blank, faces pale. Her heart dropped. "Mommy?" "We were waiting for you," Lily said, her voice a haunting mockery of childlike innocence. "Don't let her leave." The figure hissed from behind her, a command that slithered through the air, thickening it with foreboding. She stumbled back, the dread coiling around her heart like a vice. "No. Step away from them. Join us," Ethan said, his voice chillingly serene. "It's fun here. We want to play with the shadows too." A cacophony of laughter erupted as the figures flickered, merging with the darkness, twisting into grotesque shapes that echoed their giggles in unnerving harmony. The walls felt like they were closing in, shadows inching closer, almost snaring her. Panic surged once more. With every ounce of strength, Sarah bolted forward, throwing herself toward her children. But something pulled her back, a cold grip around her wrist dragging her into the dark. "Stay a while," the figure whispered, his voice dripping with seduction. "Help!" She screamed, her voice drowning in the growing tempest. But outside, the night remained still, and the smile on the figure's face widened, oil-slick and unyielding. "Will you make the choice?" he taunted, pulling her deeper into the abyss of shadows. The laughter grew louder, the darkness swallowing her screams. And just as she felt the last flicker of light begin to dim, she heard a new sound. A soft, urgent knock echoing through the wall. Who was there? The knocking continued, a steady rhythm that sliced through the terror wrapping around Sarah like a dark shroud. Each thud resonated with desperation, igniting a spark of hope amid the suffocating dread. The figure hesitated, his grip loosening just enough for Sarah to feel the pull of freedom. "Who is it?" she cried, urgency spilling from her lips. The shadows around her shifted, swirling in agitation, as if the presence of the unknown threatened to disrupt their sinister game. "Mommy!" Lily and Ethan echoed in unison. Their hollow smiles frightened her more than anything else. "Don't go. That's not our game." The laughter from the shadows crescendoed, a chorus of twisted joy that chilled her bones. She wouldn't let them trap her. She forced her eyes to the door, every instinct screaming to reach the sound, to push away the darkness consuming her family. The knocking grew louder, sharper, the sound morphing into something almost desperate. "Let me in. Sarah. It's me. Please. Mark." Sarah gasped. Her husband. How could he be here? She hadn't spoken to him in days, each moment since their argument gnawing at her conscience. A wave of guilt washed over her, but a flicker of hope ignited inside her chest. "You can't trust him." The figure hissed, slithering closer, his breath cold against her skin. "He wants to take you away. Join us, stay." She shook her head, her heart racing. "No." The figure's words were dangerous, a web of deceit. "Get away from them." She screamed, the raw power of her love slicing through the fear. As if summoned by her desperation, the door rattled violently, followed by another urgent knock. "Sarah! Get to the door." The shadows recoiled momentarily, fear flickering across their ephemeral faces. Sarah seized the moment. She dashed toward the door, her feet pounding the floor, heart hammering in her chest. She could feel the figure's gaze burning into her back, the weight of his attention pulling her down. "Don't let her leave." He screamed, but her resolve was stronger now. With a forceful push, Sarah flung the door wide open. The abrupt entry of light momentarily blinded her. "Mark!" she cried, her voice raw with emotion. He stood there, disheveled, with wild eyes haunted by both fear and determination. She saw his hand extended toward the darkness behind her, a flicker of horror crossing his face. "Sarah, get!" But before he could finish, the shadows surged forward, a wave of darkness crashing over him. Screams erupted, mingling with their laughter. "Mommy!" her children cried, their voices twisted in the throes of chaos. "No! Mark!" Sarah lunged back, but the shadows seemed to thicken, wrapping around her husband like ice. They pulled him into their dark embrace, his face a mask of terror as he vanished into the abyss. The laughter intensified, an unending cacophony of sinister joy. Sarah felt the walls closing in, shadows stalking her every move. She couldn't lose him. She couldn't lose them all. "Make a choice, Sarah." The figure rasped, oozing confidence, now standing behind her. "Join the game, or lose them forever." In that moment, she knew she had to decide. Her heart weighed heavy with the threat of losing everything. "What do I do?" she whispered before the darkness enveloped her once more. Then, within the suffocating terror, the shadows faltered. A new sound emerged, different from the laughter. A tiny, soft whimper cut through the oppressive gloom. "Mommy, help!" Her heart jolted awake in recognition. Who was this? Another knock echoed through the darkness. "Open up. It's too late. They're coming." What was coming? Who was outside? The figure laughed in its twisted way. "Now you're really in trouble." What choice would she make? The figure loomed closer, its twisted smile stretching unnaturally wide, shadows swirling around it like a storm. Sarah's breaths came in ragged gasps, her heart pounding against her ribcage like a trapped animal. She needed to think, to act, but the darkness clung to her like a heavy fog, obscuring any clarity. "Help!" The whimper broke through the suffocating silence again, drawing her attention. It sounded like Lily. Panic clawed at her throat. How could it be Lily? Was it just a trick? "Your real daughter is right here with us," the figure sneered, its voice like ice. "You know which side you should choose, dear Sarah. It's all part of the game. You've seen how it ends." "No!" she shouted, shaking her head fiercely. "I won to play." The laughter swelled, rising like an unfurling storm. With every laugh, shadowy figures writhed at the edges, their forms shifting and blending. Sarah clenched her fists, pouring every ounce of strength into confronting the nightmare. "Mark!" she called out, voice trembling. "Where are you? I need you." As if in reply, the darkness quivered. Images flickered within its depths, fragments of her life, shadows of happy moments distorted into grotesque parodies. She caught glimpses of sparkly birthday cakes, sunshine-filled parks, and laughter that didn't seem to belong in this nightmarish realm. Then, without warning, the door slammed shut. The light vanished, plunging her back into the oppressive gloom. Panic surged, blinding her senses. "No! Don't leave me!" she screamed, but the echo of her voice vanished into the void. The shadows converged, a cacophony of whispers weaving around her, each one pulling at her sanity. "Join us," they beckoned, voices overlapping. "You don't have to be alone. Choose us." "No. Get away." She turned, frantically searching for a way to escape. But every flicker of hope unraveled, leading her deeper into despair. The claustrophobia of the void pressed down on her, squeezing the breath from her lungs. Then she remembered the knock. The urgency behind it, the warning in that frantic yell. "Open up. It's too late. They're coming." "What is coming?" she hissed, her voice a blend of fear and defiance, aimed at the figure. "Only the truth," it sneered. Before she could react, the floor trembled beneath her. The shadows began to ripple violently, pulling away from the walls, revealing an ominous swirling portal of darkness at the center of the room. Sarah's pulse quickened. "Lily! Ethan!" she screamed. "Stay close. I'm coming." The laughter ceased abruptly. Silence suffocated the air, replaced by a sense of foreboding so sharp, it could cut. From the swirling blackness, a figure emerged, writhing and twisting, echoing her children's expressions. They were drifting toward her, their small bodies caught in the clutches of the swirling abyss. "Mommy, help us!" they cried, their voices mingling with the darkness, a chant pulling at her very soul. Determination ignited in Sarah's chest. She leaped toward the portal, reaching for her children, who seemed so close yet so impossibly distant. But she hesitated, the figure blocking her. "This is a choice, Sarah. All choices have consequences. Find them." A voice from the back of her mind roared. It belonged to Mark. It sliced through her instincts of fear and doubt. With newfound resolve gleaming in her eyes, she pushed against the figure, charging through the swirling shadows. The darkness roared in protest, rising up to swallow her whole, but she would not let them consume her. "Hold on!" she yelled, grabbing for the familiar hands of her children. Just as she made contact, the chilling laughter exploded back, echoing all around. "You think you can escape us? What was this place? Who were these shadows?" Sarah felt the children's grip slip away, the darkness pulling them apart as they were caught in a terrifying snare. The figure loomed over her, triumphant. "Welcome to the game, Sarah. Now what will you do?" In that moment, the truth settled heavily over her. What if they never left? A deafening silence descended as she caught a glimpse of the shifting darkness. Suddenly, a chilling whisper floated through the air, making her skin crawl. "You could join them forever," and just then, another knock echoed through the void, this time, faster, more insistent. Who was knocking again? "Sarah!" the voice yelled desperately. "You need to choose this time, for real." Was there really hope beyond this madness? The darkness swirled with a malevolent energy, and the air felt thick, like molasses on her skin. The insistent knocking reverberated, blending with the shadows as they twisted in ominous patterns. Sarah's heart raced. What choice? What hope? Each whispered promise echoed in her mind, tugging her away from reality. "Sarah!" the voice called again, breaking through the haze. It was familiar, filled with urgency and fear. "Mark! Mark!" she screamed, a desperate plea that ricocheted in the void, but silence answered instead. The figure stood firmly in front of her, its eyes glowing like coals in the dimness. "You know what it demands, don't you? What you have to sacrifice." Sacrifice? The word hung heavy in the air. She felt a chill run down her spine. The shadows recoiled momentarily, as if they understood the weight of the truth she had yet to grasp. "Yes." The figure leaned closer, and the scent of decay assaulted her senses. "To save them, you must give us something precious. Something that defines you." What did that even mean? Her children? The very thought twisted in her gut like a knife. In a blur, the swirling portal expanded, revealing flashbacks of their happiest moments: Lily's first steps, Ethan's infectious laughter, the warmth of family dinners over flickering candles. Each image felt like a blade, slicing through her heart. "Join us, let go of the past," it whispered, winding its icy fingers around her mind. "No!" she shouted, shaking her head furiously. "I'll never give you anything." The figure hissed. "What if you had to choose? What if one must stay while the other escapes?" Panic coursed through her veins. "No. You can't do that." But the shadows danced, eager to toy with her despair. The very fabric of her world trembled. They flickered her children's faces again, their frightened expressions begging for release. "Consider your choice. Join them, and you too shall be free. Fight, and they will be lost forever. The horror of the truth gripped her. The walls began to pulse like a heartbeat, threatening to crush her between them. She felt the pull of the portal, a clawing sensation that urged her forward even as it terrified her. Would she confront this darkness head-on? Mark! She bellowed again, desperation breaking her composure. Can you hear me? Where are you? Right here. The knock transformed into a hammering, a relentless thrum that disoriented her. You must make a choice, Sarah. It's the only way. In an instant, the laughter erupted anew, a taunting chorus that reverberated through the void. What will you offer? Are you willing to lose one child to save the other? Or maybe to save yourself? What kind of monster are you? She burst out, fury igniting her heart. Not a monster, dear. Just a guide to the truth. The figure straightened, eyes narrowing. Tell me, how much do you love your children? Enough to face the consequences? The room convulsed. Dimensions shifted as shadows advanced like a tide, crashing against her resolve. The voices crescendoed, an unholy symphony. Join us, let go, and there, from the depths of the dark, a horrifying image emerged, a vision of a lone child standing on the precipice of the abyss, her own precious Lily, reaching for her with tears streaming down her innocent face. Mommy, help, no! Sarah screamed, feeling her lungs constrict. Fight or surrender? Time felt suspended as her decision loomed closer, each heartbeat echoing louder than the last. The choice pulsed in her thoughts, blurring the edges of her sanity. And just as the shadows began to envelop her, a sudden blinding light flickered at the fringes of the portal, illuminating the chaos with a stark, clean glow. Choose. Mark's voice thundered again, cutting through the dark haze. You must decide now. What truth lay beyond the light? Would it lead her to safety or to more torment? The figure let out a blood-curdling laugh. Make your choice, Sarah, before it's too late. The darkness surged toward her. Would she gamble it all? What would she give up to save them, herself, her very essence? And for one terrifying moment, she had to confront the unthinkable. Sarah's breath grew shallow as the shadows closed in around her, tendrils of darkness creeping toward her like a hungry beast. The light pulsated fiercely, a stark contrast to the oppressive gloom. She felt it beckoning her, promising revelations and maybe even a way out. But the figure loomed closer, its voice dripping with malice. You think the light brings hope? It only reveals the truth of your choices. She faltered. Behind her, life seemed to flicker like an old television set, the happy moments with her children blurring into static. Lily's outstretched hands burned into her memory, Ethan's laughter became a haunting echo. They were slipping away, even the thought of them felt weightless now, suspended in the chaos. Mark. She spun around, searching desperately in the shifting shadows. Where are you? I need you. Her plea felt like a cork bobbing on turbulent waves, barely afloat. Right here. His voice cut through the swirling darkness, anchoring her for just a moment. You have to focus. The choice is yours, but it won't last much longer. The figure grinned, revealing teeth like shards of glass, glinting with predatory delight. What will you choose, Sarah? One child, or both? Yourself or your past? The very air crackled with tension. She could feel the weight of his gaze, measuring her, and in that instant, the world around her shifted again. She was standing in a place she remembered, a sunlit afternoon at the park, children laughing and running, the shade of the old oak tree enveloping them. It felt joyous, but with a tinge of dread creeping in as she sensed the shadows lurking at the edges of her vision. Save me, Mommy. A voice chimed from the shadows, a high, sweet voice that sent icy fingers down her spine. Lily. Panic surged through her. She rushed toward the sound, forcing her legs to move against the weight of despair. But with each step, the laughter warped into something sinister, twisting in her ears until it became a mournful wail. Mommy, please. As she approached, the scene morphed again. The laughter faded into horror, the joyful shouts replaced by Robert's shivering, terrified face. "You can't let her take me. Please." Mark's presence felt now like a distant memory, swallowed by the thickening shadows. Sarah's heart thudded erratically, thumping painfully in her chest as she fought against an explosive wave of despair. "What do you want from me?" she shouted defiantly. The figure twisted its features into a grotesque mask of twisted compassion. "We want to set you free." The words dripped with honeyed poison. "But freedom comes at a price. Only one can be saved. Stop it." Sarah screamed, grasping at the fraying edges of her sanity. "There has to be another way." A flicker of doubt crossed her mind as she thought of sacrifice. "What if I take their place? Is that enough?" Her voice trembled, gripped by the despair swirling around her. The figure chuckled, a sound like breaking glass. "You've grasped the concept of sacrifice, but do you truly understand the weight of your offer?" Suddenly, the darkness warped, pulling her deeper into an abyss. Faces of those she loved and lost swirled around her, each one echoed with pain, regret, and betrayal. The light dimmed, flickering as if struggling to hold on against the force of despair. "Choose." Mark's voice hacked through the chaos, no longer calm, pulsing with urgency and fear. "You must choose, Sarah. Trust your heart." Amidst the despair, another vision appeared, a shimmering haze full of warmth. Briefly, the world around transformed into serene sunlight, and she saw her children, happy and whole. But that happiness didn't linger long. It faded, replaced by shadows that clawed at her heart. Could she risk it all, her children, her life, to save them both? She closed her eyes against the rising tide of dark, forcing herself to make the only choice that felt true. The silence returned, thick yet pregnant with dread. And then she heard it, the first drop of blood. What cost would she pay? Would she find the light before it consumed her? The darkness pressed in closer, thick and suffocating, a weight that made every breath painfully labored. Sarah's heart raced as memories collided within her mind, moments of joy twisted like barbed wire against her will. She clutched her head, desperate to silence the relentless whimpers echoing around her. "I'll do anything," she cried, feeling the pitch of panic rise in her throat. "Anything." The figure's voice was a rasping whisper, teasing her sanity like a cat playing with a mouse. What a delightful thought, but can you truly deliver? Suddenly, a flash illuminated the suffocating void. Her children, their faces radiant, radiating the love that had always anchored her. "Mommy." Their voices harmonized, yanking at her heart. But a cold laugh reverberated like thunder, masking their sweet calls. The figure loomed larger, casting a long shadow over the shimmering hope. "Do you see how easily hope becomes despair?" it hissed, the glint in its eyes almost playful. "They are mere projections of your desire, fading like dreams in the light of reality. One must die to save the other." A blinding flash like a strobe light brought her again to the park, the smooth ground beneath her feet shifting to mud, soft and sucking. She looked around wildly, and her children, now mere echoes, danced just beyond her reach. All around, the static returned, a dissonant symphony of frightful laughter playing over the landscape of her mind. No. Her thoughts were a whirlwind, spiraling out of control. "I can't choose. Please, I can't. A mother wouldn't choose. I love them both." "Love?" The figure laughed uproariously, the sound sickening. "Love is often overshadowed by selfishness. You think your love can save them? Only sacrifice has true value in this realm. Embrace it, Sarah. Embrace your fate." As blood pulsed in her ears, the weight of her reality crashed down. She felt the rise of guilt, of past burdens she had tried to hide, clawing to the surface. Each face would not forgive her, their unyielding disapproval thrumming through her. The shadows quivered, and suddenly, a horrible clarity washed over her. What if the choice was not just between life and death but also about accountability? The choice to face what she had avoided for so long. The figure moved closer, its breath sour and sharp, sending a shiver down her spine. The truth is liberating but horrifying. You've allowed your fear to define you, to keep your children from their true potential. Do you wish to change that? Could she pay this price? The air crackled with a tension that threatened to explode, her insides ached with indecision. Mark's voice rang clearly within her mind. Trust your heart. But these weren't just words, they were shackles binding her to a past she feared to admit. Enough! She shouted, fueled with newfound rage. You take my children, my choices, but I will not let you take my heart. I will decide. The ground trembled beneath her, shadows swirling to swirl in anger and despair. For the briefest moment, she felt a flicker of power. But the figure's laughter grew uproarious, drowning out her newfound resolve. What will you do, Sarah? Fight me? It challenged. You are only one person in a world that has hidden many horrors. Step closer to the abyss, and you will find truth's heavy price. A piercing realization hit her like a storm. The answer, the way out, was bound within her deepest fears. It was there in the pull of her memory, her mistakes shaping the extent of her sacrifice. From the depths of despair, a question echoed louder than the rest. Would she face the truth of her past, or would she stand idly by, watching forever? The shadows pulsed with anticipation, waiting for her answer, hungry for a choice. What voice would rise above the chaos? What lesson would haunt her forevermore? The ground rumbled beneath Sarah's feet, an ominous growl echoing as if the earth itself had come alive, resentful and vengeful. The figure stretched its long shadows, mocking her with every flicker of hope she dared to summon. Make your choice. It commanded, its voice pulling taut the strings of torment woven into her mind. Where were her children? Panic clawed at her throat. The radiant faces she'd seen had vanished, swallowed by the void. They were nothing but shouts and visions from another life. She remembered their laughter, a sound so sweet and innocent it almost felt like a knife twisting in her heart. No. Bring them back. The words burst forth, raw and unrelenting. Do you believe you can bargain with them? The figure taunted, eyes glimmering with malevolence. They are entangled in your web of failures, just as you are. Wouldn't you prefer to sever those ties? The suggestion stung like ice shards embedding themselves into her veins. She staggered back, grappling with memories that surfaced like bloated corpses from a drowned nightmare. Moments of neglect poured in, times she had put her work over their needs, her dreams above their happiness. Sarah could almost hear the scorn of their silence, their upturned faces searching for the love that should have been so easy to give. Just say it, Sarah. Sacrifice one for the other. It's a simple equation, life or death. Choose. A scream threatened to rise, but instead, she clamped her hands over her ears, desperate to drown out the monstrous laughter that filled her head. She could feel the pressure building, a fog of terror rapidly closing in. The walls felt like they were moving, shifting with her torment. In that suffocating chaos, a whisper floated to her, trust your heart. Mark's voice. But what did that even mean when all she felt was the crushing weight of despair? The figure leaned closer, its breath the stench of rot. Your heart, Sarah. It's been corrupted by guilt. No. She roared, visceral anger pulsing within her. But doubt crashed against her resolve, and the question reared its ugly head again: was she truly ready to pay the price? Unyielding darkness clawed at her mind, revealing a grotesque tapestry of failures, each thread woven meticulously by her own hands. She could see them, her children at night, hugging their stuffed animals tight, eyes gleaming with the innocence she de-tarnished. With every image, her heart sank deeper into dread. What will it be? The figure's voice turned smooth, silken. It draped itself over her like a shroud. One must die if the other is to thrive. Which one do you cherish more? Words caught in her throat. She understood the game now. Was this reality, or was it a clever trick, a scream from her subconscious grasping for acknowledgement? The truth lurked like venom: she could preserve the life of one at the expense of the other. But in that horrifying moment, a darker truth clawed at the shadows of her guilt. Neither of them would be safe if she continued to hide. As if sensing her resolve, the figure shifted, its shape distorting, pulsating with anticipation. Choose, Sarah. Embrace the horrors, or suffer the consequences. Every syllable ignited a spark of dread. Time hung heavy, the walls of reality tearing close like a noose. Would she dare to confront her hidden sins? To expose the twisted greenery of her past? Her body trembled, the shadows yearning for an answer. I don't know. A cacophony of laughter erupted from the void, a sinister chorus that blasted through her mind. It sent her reeling, heart racing, breath caught somewhere between defiance and despair. The ground shifted beneath her, becoming quicksand, ready to swallow her whole. Only one way to find out, the figure crooned, its tone dripping with malice. Embrace the inevitable. Dare to surface your heart's darkest secret, if you can. What lurked beneath her heart? Was it the strength to fight or a surrender to the nightmares? The shadows held their breath, waiting for her decision. Would she let go of the past, or would she cling to the guilt that threatened to drown her? Sarah felt the ground drop away beneath her, swallowed by the abyss. She was torn, facing the figure with its insatiable hunger, the darkness coiling around her heart like a serpent. The walls throbbed, echoing her tortured thoughts. It was all or nothing. Is there any way out? She whispered into the shadows. Only one way, the figure replied, voice smooth, sinister. Face your horrors or lose them both forever. Time stood still. She thought of Ethan and Lily, the joy in their laughter, the warmth of their hugs. In that moment, she stood at the precipice of her greatest fear and her greatest love. Could she sacrifice her own pain to save her family? I want to let them go. She shouted, voice trembling but fierce. The shadows recoiled, contorting around her. Lily. A voice called from within the dark, high and fearful. It was her daughter's voice, echoing through the void. Mommy, please. Help. No. Get away from them. The rage and terror surged forward like a tidal wave. The figure laughed, a chilling sound reverberating through the darkness. Make your choice, Sarah. One must remain in the dark. No. I refuse to choose, she yelled, her voice raw with desperation. What makes you think I would let go of either of them? Because it's the only way to save yourself, the figure taunted, and yet, a flicker of light pierced through the darkness, sparking hope. She thought of Mark, of his quiet strength and unwavering belief in her. If he were here, he'd tell her to trust her heart. A newfound courage ignited within her. Enough. She bellowed, fierce determination propelling her forward. You don't own me. You don't own my children. I am their mother. With every ounce of will, she reached deep, drawing on the love that survived in the darkest corners. Not love alone, but the full weight of her choices, her mistakes, and her unyielding hope. She faced the figure, raw and exposed. If it means saving them, I will fight against your darkness, she declared, feeling her chest rise, heart pounding with an energy she thought had long since been depleted. You will not take them from me. The shadows writhed and shrieked in protest. You think your love can conquer my darkness? Yes. She screamed, bursting forth, illuminating the shadows with the glow of her truth. Love can break even the strongest of grips. I will not let fear define our fate. She extended her arms, and the light radiated outward, pushing back against the cloying darkness. The figure recoiled, eyes narrowing. The laughter grew fainter, drowned in her resolve. You cannot. It shouted, but the shadows ebbed and twisted, the fight leaving them. Join us. Sarah called to Ethan and Lily, grab my hand. Suddenly, the darkness screamed as if it were being torn apart, shadows fluttering around her like autumn leaves in a whirlwind. In that vivid interplay of light and dark, she felt the warmth of her children's small hands slip into hers. Mommy. They cried, joy bursting from their lips, pure and untainted by the darkness. With a mighty pull, releasing everything she held tight, the guilt, the fear. Sarah surged forth with her children. Together they dashed to the edge of the light, breaking free from the grasp of the shadows. The bond sealed as they leaped forward, laughter enveloping them like a warm embrace. No. The figure's voice trembled in the air before dissipating, shadows evaporating into nothingness. Light flooded the room as they tumbled back into their living room, breathing heavy, heart racing with adrenaline. Sarah glanced around, soaking in the mundane normalcy, the cozy couch, the fluttering curtains, the bright hues of the toys scattered across the floor. "Mommy!" Lily squealed, curling into Sarah's arms, warmth spreading through her. "What just happened?" "Mommy's here now," she reassured, holding her close. Relief swelled within her, filling all the cracks left by fear and darkness. Ethan rushed toward them, vibrant with youthful energy. "Did we win?" "Yes," Sarah said, a soft smile spreading across her face. "We won." Outside, sunlight streamed through the windows, a new dawn breaking over Maplewood. The lingering shadows faded, leaving their home in a warmth that felt good and safe, like it was meant to be. As Sarah cradled her children, she realized something profound: sometimes the hardest fights lead to the brightest victories. Accepting her past allowed her to trust her heart and hold on to those she loved. "Let us make some pancakes," she suggested, ruffling Ethan's hair. They giggled, and for the first time in ages, Sarah felt like she could finally breathe. "Together?" Lily chirped, excitement bubbling. "Together," she confirmed, heart swelling with gratitude and love. In this moment, bathed in sunlight and laughter, she knew they were okay. Shadows might linger, but they held the light within them, a bond unbreakable, a new beginning forged from the remnants of fear. And as they stepped away from the darkness that tried to consume them, Sarah silently vowed to protect that light forever. Fearlessly, she turned and headed toward the kitchen, her family behind her, strong and united in their journey ahead. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that could grip your heart and your mind. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Every click helps us reach more people. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this incredible conclusion. What did you think? What would you have done? Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to be part of this thrilling journey. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions, so let us show love together.